Did you know there's a national park just outside of our nation's capital where you can stay in cabins where future spies once stayed? I'm telling you the truth. We're in Prince William Forest Park, and it's just one of the places we're revealing that's a true hidden gem on this episode of Travels with Darley as we explore Northern Virginia. We're just outside of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., exploring Prince William County in Northern Virginia, where towns and cities bring to light American history and reveal a melting pot of modern cultures through national parks, historic sites, museums, and even food halls and breweries. We're diving into this part of Virginia to discover aspects of the Civil War, Cold War, and colonial times that you might not know. We'll sample great cuisine and drinks with world-class chefs and food connoisseurs, and get to know what makes Prince William County and Northern Virginia tick, and why you might want to adventure outside of our nation's capital to experience this diverse area. We're starting our adventures at Manasses National Battlefield Park, where two Civil War battles in 1861 and 1862 took place. Park Ranger Elizabeth Hokinson shares the history.
On July 21st, 1861, federal forces started to make their way into this area with the idea that they would fight the Confederates near a train station in this area, Manasses Junction.
The cannons and memorials to the battles fought here are all around us in what today is a quiet landscape. During the Battle of Bull Run, this field would have been pandemonium.
This field would have been full of gunfire, cannon fire, smoke, dust. This battle is significant because we consider it to be the first major land battle of the war. And of course, when everybody gets out here, they have this very unrealistic expectation that when war comes, it's going to be quick. One or two battles, and this is all going to be settled. Of course, we know that's not true today.
This was one of the first battles, and people weren't really that well trained.
This battle, there's going to be a lot of fumbles. If you go by our museum, there are 200 quote-unquote uniforms represented out here because individual militia companies might have had their own uniform. There are people wearing blue and gray on both sides, not just one or the other. The flags of both countries still look pretty similar. So if you're looking for that as a guide on the field, in the chaos of everything, it's going to be very hard.
Sounds altogether chaotic, horrible.
This is the largest battle in American history up to that moment. This is hallowed ground for us. The mission to preserve this is very important.
The fact that the land is so well preserved and this is a national park, I see people coming out to utilize Manasses National Battlefield in a lot of different ways. They get to enjoy this space, contemplate history and life and nature, and step away from the city that's all around us.
We're kind of an oasis in the middle of Northern Virginia sprawl. For a lot of people, this is a nice, quiet place to come and reflect and think and just get out and enjoy nature and commune with nature.
The Ben Lomond Historic Site invites visitors to dive further into Civil War history. Kevin Pollack introduces us to this interactive historic site.
A lot of people will come to our site and think that they're going to learn about who Ben Lomond was, but instead Ben Lomond is a Scottish term that means beacon mountain. We do sit up on top of a hill, so Manasses National Battlefield would have been visible. It was decided by Confederate surgeons that this would be an ideal place to care for the wounded and try to save as many of these soldiers' lives as they possibly could.
So this became a hospital for those Confederate soldiers?
Yes, it became known officially as the Pringle House Hospital. And then the night of July 21st, 1861, after the battle came to an end, it began to rain thunder and lightning, forcing pretty much everybody inside the house. They just told the Pringles, we're taking over your house and using it as a hospital. Probably one of the first things you'll notice upon coming into our exhibit here at Ben Lomond are the smells. So this is all meant to be an immersive experience into what a Civil War hospital was like. So here in the central passageway, you'll probably get a bad waft of the smell of barnyard. Dozens of cattle, horses, sheep out on the farm, the manure being spread to farm the fields, dozens of soldiers coming into the house that have been marching almost nonstop for days on end.
I have a very acute sense of smell, so this is like a lot, right?
It can, yes, it can be overwhelming.
So interesting though, because all of our senses leave such an imprint on our memory, and now this is gonna stick in my memory for sure.
Since this was the largest room in the Pringle House Hospital, this is where most of the soldiers ultimately would have recovered. Like you see, and every inch of space of this house was used for wounded soldiers to be cared for.
It's so interesting to travel to places where history took place. It makes you understand that history that much better. But here, You're taking it to level 10 with the smells and the sounds.
We can hit you with all those different senses, then hopefully you'll walk away with a greater appreciation of what the soldiers who were here went through and what the surgeons had to operate with, and what, of course, the Pringle family had to experience as well for 35 days while their house was taken over and used as a hospital.
Next, I'm ending my day in Manasses, Virginia on a farm, but not exactly a traditional one. Tell me about Farm Brew Live. I know you have live music happening, but what else is here?
Farm Brew Live consists of 2 silos where we're at right now in the brewery, the heart of 2 silos. We have 4 food trucks, an ice cream truck. We have an old school milk truck that we've made into our draft beer truck.
Because, you know, beer is better than milk.
That's right. That's right. We have Black Sheep. It was a historically old 1900 barn that we have renovated and made into an upper casual restaurant.
Farm Brew Live is in fact located in an old dairy farm that had laid vacant for more than 40 years before entrepreneurs decided to transform it into a beer, music, and food lovers multi-acre campus. The Black Sheep is housed in the farm's Thomason barn, dating back to 1929 and retrofitted to keep historic details alive. It also serves up food from local farmers.
Being 30 miles west of DC, we get a lot of traffic coming from the city.
What I like about it is, I mean, I've been seeing the sites around here. There's battlefields, there's historic sites, national park. And I know that after I've been touring around all day, what do I want to do? I want to have some good food and I want to have a good drink.
100%.
We try a craft beer and see who's on stage, ending the day toasting a local artist with local beer. Even though this part of Northern Virginia is a mix of urban and suburban areas, there are still small historic towns where community spirit and small businesses are strong. One such town is Occoquan, located on the Occoquan River, where I'm touring around with Mayor Ernie Porta.
Occoquan is at the fall line of the Occoquan River, so both the town and the river are named the same thing.
So the town was established back in the 1730s.
Right, so 1734 is the date we use. One of Occoquan's 20th century seminal events was a fire in 1916. And that burned down most of what is today the historic district. So most of the stuff in town you will see post-dates 1916, but there's a handful of buildings that survived. You'll see up here the oldest structure in town, Rockledge. The mill house, which was part of the big mill complex that used to be here, actually dates from 1765. So this is the Mill House Museum. Here's a scale model of what the old big mill used to look like, and we're in that little building off to the right there that is all that's left.
This would have been an interesting little colonial town.
Yes, for quite some time, it was an interesting colonial town, provided wheat, provided iron, and this mill complex continued in operation into the 1920s. So Occoquan, for much of its history, was considered a mill town.
During the Civil War, Occoquan was a site of skirmishes, and only a few years after that, became home to one of the first African-American Baptist congregations in eastern Prince William County.
So we're coming up on Washington Street, which was the heart of the town's African-American commercial community in the early and middle part of the 20th century. And there's one of our iconic buildings, Ebenezer Baptist Church, which was founded by Lewis Bailey, who was a former enslaved person who came up here from Texas after the end of the Civil War, established that congregation in 1883.
This is a great town to explore on foot, and if you're out walking, you'll see a number of locally owned businesses, including businesses housed in historic structures.
So one of the interesting things about Occoquan is approximately 75% of our businesses are women-owned, and we're going to head into one of those now, Urban Posh.
I love when there's historic buildings that can be preserved and still used.
It's hard to imagine a small town feel in an area like this, but you definitely get that here.
From clothes shopping to sweet treats, I get pulled into a chocolate shop. It tastes like brownie batter, a rich, rich brownie batter. Before the pie shop.
That was some good apple pie.
We have a bunch of small businesses, and the folks who run them are really happy if you ask them to tell you their personal stories.
And that makes it fun for travelers. All of these desserts call for salad at lunch on the water at Madigan's waterfront. It's always nice to eat by the water, but I feel like it's even nicer to be out here on the water.
Yeah, it really makes a difference to be out on the water. And when you're out here, you can see all kinds of wildlife.
All right. Yay, I didn't fall in. Success. Just a short drive away, I'm checking out Epic Food Hall, where Marjani Walker helps new restaurants find their voice in the food world before launching out into the surrounding communities.
So we have culinary partners. They come in, they usually interview. We look at what we have and see what would be a good addition to fit with the rest of the culinary partners. And after that, they usually end up having their own business. So this is Q Bar. All of the cocktails here are crafted by our mixologists.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Here we go. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, it's like our version of a pina colada. Super good and refreshing.
Really good. Thank you.
So you ready to try a beef patty?
Let's do it.
All right.
You can travel the world through food at this food hall.
So these are Jamaican beef patties.
Yep,
Some of your favorites. A lot of good spices in there.
This one makes it epic.
I've had shrimp tempura fried, but
Yeah.
I've not had a
Just a fried roll.
sushi roll. This
Yeah.
is Now I'm going to be looking for these fried sushi rolls. Not that I want to make sushi unhealthy, but it doesn't seem unhealthy.
No, not at all. It's super good, and I love the way the tempura batter is. It's just a nice crunch. This is Vessel tea, super amazing dessert. Thank you. Today we're gonna try the strawberry cheesecake and the berries and creams macaroons.
You know what? Pretty big. Sometimes they're too small.
Yeah, sugar cookie goodness.
Thanks for the epic food hall adventure.
Of course.
Calling all national park lovers, this next stop may surprise you. We're taking a ranger-guided tour of Prince William Forest Park, a national park just outside of Washington, D.C. It feels a world away.
Brendan, how old is this national park?
This national park was created in 1936 as Chapawamsek Recreational Demonstration Area, as a getaway for the urban residents of Washington, D.C. to have a national park in their backyard. It's the largest preserved green space in the region.
So I lived in Washington, D.C. for quite a while, and I didn't even know about this park.
It's actually pretty common, We like to think of ourselves as the best kept secret of Northern Virginia.
How many miles of trails are there?
37 miles of trails for hiking and biking in the park. And it means that folks can come out and have something pretty close to a true wilderness experience out here.
So close to the city, but a world away.
Absolutely. It sure feels like one.
Being so close to D.C., this park holds its share of political secrets.
So during World War II, the park was actually closed off to the public and used as a training ground for the Office of Strategic Services, which was the nation's first true multidisciplinary intelligence gathering agency. It's the forerunner of the modern CIA.
Huh, this was a spy zone.
They were running all around out here, solving field problems, being spies. This is where they learned how to do that. Guerrilla warfare, commando-style training, small arms training, explosives and demolition training.
So they would blow things up here?
Absolutely. This was their training ground. So this is one of the park's 5 historic cabin camps, which were built by the CCC in the 1930s as part of the facilities for the park. So there've been a lot of young men in the Depression era out here working to make some money and build some infrastructure for the park at the same time. And so they built 5 of these camps, each holding up to 200 campers for folks to come out and be able to stay here and play here for a while in the summertime.
This reminds me of my childhood summer camp. Yep, exactly like my old camp experience. This is the dining hall. Even smells like camp.
It does, doesn't it?
Love that big fireplace.
That's great. Yeah, you can have 200 of your friends in here eating dinner. It's a great place.
In the dining hall. So you can rent this
You can.
camp?
This entire cabin camp. You can make your own summer camp experience right here in the park anytime you want with your friends.
That's so fun.
It is. It is a lot of fun.
There's a spy link with these cabins as well.
Yes, so the historic cabin camps, when the park was mothballed during World War II and used for military purposes, this is where the spies in training would have lodged, eaten, and trained.
So you can stay in cabins where spies stayed.
Absolutely you can. It's part of the rich history of this place.
I wonder if there are any secret notes still hidden inside.
If you find some, they're probably encrypted, so good luck.
To continue with the spy theme, I'm heading over to Edrop Brewery in Manasses, where I'm meeting entrepreneur Sam Madden. He drew on a few themes to name this brewery.
You all have a lot of different beers on your menu that you've produced here.
All the ones with the pigeon on the menu are the ones that we brew in-house. Light lagers, Belgians, stouts, sours, IPAs.
How did you come up with the name Eavesdrop for Eavesdrop Brewery?
So there's a lot of reasons behind the name. The first one being that we were collaboration focused when we first opened up. You basically would hear about us going to other breweries and seeing our beers on tap at their venues, hence the name Eavesdrop. The second is the many different spaces that we have. We've got the rooftop and the tiki garden, so you pretty much eavesdrop in on the different spaces. The third reason is actually funny. It's the customers always ask us, it's like, where does an eavesdrop come from? And they're like, is it because pigeons are spies?
Because this area is also known as being an area where spies trained.
So those are the different meanings behind the name Eavesdrop.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
This part of Northern Virginia, it has a lot of diverse dining options. And when I heard there was a Turkish restaurant, I had to check it out. I also hear they have simit on the menu, which is the Turkish bagel.
Serhat Yildizi and his family run My Cravings.
You're working here with your parents. Your mom started the business.
Correct.
How did that happen?
One of my father's friends had opened up a grocery store, and my dad wanted to help out, so he asked my mom to bake some stuff for him, and they would just sell on a daily basis. My mom, she would sleep during the morning and then bake at night, so the stuff would be fresh in the morning.
Her home-baked goods became so popular that she branched out to a breakfast place and now a full-service restaurant, complete with Turkish bagels.
My mom has been an excellent chef. She loves trying new things, and she put all this together.
I can't wait to dive into this. So your mom is quite the baker, and she makes simit, and this is caught on here in Northern Virginia.
Simit is one of the most popular street foods. I'm sure you saw when you went to Turkey as well. It's a good companion to everything served.
Oh, it smells good.
Yes. The cheese here is called muhlama, or as some people call it in Turkey, kuymak.
I'm taking a big slab of cheese here.
It's a mixture of corn flour, butter, and cheese.
The sesame seeds and the outside is just so well toasted, and yet it's nice and tender inside. Wow. Well, I could definitely get addicted to these.
Of course.
And now I know where outside of Istanbul to find them.
Of course. Yep, you know where to go.
Teşekkürler.
Rica ederim. It's been a pleasure. Çok memnun oldum, we say. It was a pleasure.
So I find a little bit of Turkey in Virginia. It just goes to show that you can travel the world without even leaving the USA. If you're in the DC area or even far outside of it, you may have heard about the Inn at Little Washington, which became the first 3-star Michelin restaurant in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. It's where executive chef Joel Valente cut his teeth as a chef. I'm heading to dine with him at his new restaurant, the House Tavern in Haymarket, Virginia. I didn't expect to find Chef Valente in a restaurant housed in Haymarket's Hilton Garden Inn, but that's exactly where House Tavern is located. And it's why this hotel and restaurant has attracted a super interesting mix of locals and travelers to stay, dine, and drink in downtown Haymarket.
I understand tonight we are going to have a little bit of Virginia with a little bit of Spain.
Yeah, it's called pan con tomate. So here in Virginia, like they would in Spain, right? We have beautiful produce, tomato, and we have a local Virginia country ham here. It's important to have the connection with the locals. To me, that's a natural way of eating. You know, you would eat what's kind of abundant in your area.
Chef Valente sources most of his ingredients from farms within 50 miles and combines Virginia ingredients with international flair and flavors.
So we have a little toast on our bread. As soon as it comes out hot, we're gonna rub it with that garlic, so we're just gonna brush it. So all you do, we take it here, we squeeze and gently rub. And ode to Virginia, we have our Spanish ham as well here.
So thinly sliced because it's so flavorful. I'm sure I can't wait to try it.
Yeah, so here.
Wow. Tomatoes are so good. The garlic has such a nice punch to it.
Yeah.
The ham so thinly sliced, it's just perfect.
I decide to dine as other guests would, seated at a table for my next courses of his tasting menu, which I'll critique for you.
Bluefin tuna crudo, Calabrian chili, pistachio, mint, a little rosemary tuile, and lemon. Very simple but delicious.
It's just so light and airy, but it gives you that crunch that you want to have with this dish, so fantastic.
Harissa marinated lamb, a little bit of tzatziki, a little harissa oil, parsley and pickled onions, and a little bit of grilled lemon.
The grilled flavor is so good on this. Having the lemon kind of cuts through the lamb and just makes it so tender.
And of course, I have to try dessert.
How can you go wrong with a semi-frozen chocolate mousse, booze-laden cherries, and chantilly cream? It's a wonderful Italian dessert and great combination. It's perfect for me right now. It really opens up. I know.
Quantico, Virginia is home to the National Museum of the Marine Corps, where interesting architecture is the first step into a journey into American history.
So the architecture is stunning.
When people see it from the highway, they often mistake it for a church. And I joke that, yes, it is kind of Mecca for Marines. The architecture, the way it was designed, is to emulate the flag raising on Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima. So it's at the same angle as that famous photo.
Many of the professionals who work and volunteer here are Marines, like my guide, Gwen Adams.
Into the Vietnam War.
I like up there Captain C.W. Morgan saying, the Marines will never disappoint the expectations of their country, never.
Never.
And I think when you look at this, how you've done this museum, you're like, okay, I get it. I mean, people probably travel here from all around. I'm sure a lot of Marines come here.
I brought my own granddaddy here. You know, I was a Marine, he was a Marine, very different times. But granddaddy was walking through the World War II gallery, and there's a video of PFC Sledge talking about the stench of the blood and the bodies on the beaches. And granddaddy turned as white as your trousers and said, I can smell it. He never had to say another word to me about his experiences because I saw every ghost, every thought that has haunted him all those years. And for me, that's a moment I'll never forget. And we hear those stories every day here.
I could probably just stand in this atrium talking to Gwen all day and be satisfied. But we have a big museum to see, so we head into the first set of galleries to learn about the training that she and other Marines went through to become Marines.
This is our Making Marines gallery. And for anybody who's ever been to boot camp, this is a definite flashback area. So this gallery gives you a little bit of an idea of what it's like to go through Marine Corps boot camp.
Okay, boot camp.
So some of the training, the leadership evaluation, physical exercise. Can you do a pull-up?
I don't know, let's see. Not easy.
No. I'm still friends with some of the women I went through basic training with. So this is our World War I gallery. We start out at Belleau Wood, which is one of the biggest battles for Marine Corps history. This is our Battle of Belleau Wood. We filmed this here in Virginia, but it looks so much like Belleau.
Having been to Belleau Wood to film for Travels with Darley, I can tell you that this gallery presents an accurate sense of place, and it's chilling. Other galleries take you through the Korean War in rooms where the temperature has been dropped to specifically remind visitors of the cold conditions Marines faced, and through the Civil War, including a battlefield we visited while filming this episode in Manasses.
When did women start to be involved with the Marines?
We really got involved as Marinettes in World War I.
The history of women Marines is also told.
There's so much to read.
I
find myself so distracted by everything because I do want to read everything and know the information.
Our visitors are streakers, strollers, and scholars. So the streakers go through, they just look at the big things. The strollers will read some of the text panels, watch some of the videos, but the scholars need at least a full day because they're gonna read everything and watch everything and soak it all in.
I head upstairs to take another look at the helicopters, planes, and tanks in the expansive atrium. It's museums like this that can be such tools to learn and give us the opportunity to experience lives and worlds that we've not had the chance to experience before. It's humbling.
I love places like this where you can truly take a step back in time and learn about what's happened before us, the mistakes that have been made, the challenges and the triumphs. And coming here and learning about the history, it makes us better people. And that's what we should do when we're traveling to learn new things. So thanks so much for walking with me here at Virginia. Thanks for watching. Where do you buy the barnyard smell?
So there was a company that...
I'm not trying to get it for my house for the holidays or anything.
You probably don't want it. We've got
here in Northern Virginia, we're exploring history, culture, craft food, great drink craft food. A place you didn't know too much about, but that was filled with joy and wonder. I got a watermelon big veggie dog to try camp here.
Sheets being by sheets.
I haven't even had that much to drink yet. Just wait.
She rapping over here.